This is carbon capture. Does it work? Yeah, it works. So why do people dislike it then? Well, a lot of people, including top climate scientists, don't like it being used because it doesn't work well enough to be very helpful in fighting climate change. And it is very expensive and uses a lot of power. You see, carbon capture refers to things that take carbon out of the Earth's atmosphere and keep it, thus reducing the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. Governments around the world are throwing lots of money at carbon capture initiatives in the hope that it will help them to tackle climate change. In short, climate change is when there's too much carbon in the atmosphere and the weather stops working properly.
It's snowing in the summer!
Causing the Earth to become less safe for people to live on. However, I've seen many criticisms of carbon capture as an idea, claiming that it is a waste of resources and ineffective. So, is it true? Or should we be treating carbon capture as the miracle cure for climate change that some claim it is? The main form of carbon capture that exists is referred to as CCS, which stands for Carbon Capture and Storage. It's a machine that you attach to power plants that burn fossil fuels, and it takes the carbon out of the polluted air that leaves the power plants. The carbon that gets collected is then taken out of the machine and stored somewhere deep underground. Factoring in the amount of power required to make the machine work, this only reduces the carbon emissions of a power plant by about 70%, which is nice and all, but building a wind farm costs 6 times less and emits no carbon whatsoever. So why are people persisting with this form of carbon capture? Well, the people who are in favour of this technology are generally people who have businesses that pollute a lot, because carbon capture allows them to keep operating their fossil fuel power plants for longer. There is another type of carbon capture called DAC, or direct air capture. This refers to a machine that plucks carbon out of the air, thus directly reducing the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. This is receiving much less attention at the moment, although it is generally the preferred method within the scientific community. Both of these things are the case because, surprise surprise, it doesn't prop up the fossil fuel industry. And DAC isn't technically limited to these machines either. Other forms of DAC include planting trees, farming seaweed, and farming mussels, although the mussels are somewhat disputed. Plants like trees and seaweed capture carbon from the atmosphere through doing something called photosynthesis, where they take sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide and turn that into glucose and oxygen. Mussels capture carbon by eating these tiny organisms in the sea called phytoplankton. Similarly to trees, phytoplankton do photosynthesis, getting their carbon dioxide from carbon that has diffused into the water from the air. When mussels eat the carbon-rich phytoplankton, they use the carbon to create their shell, which is made of calcium carbonate, but this means the carbon stays underwater and, crucially, out of the atmosphere. So yeah, to reiterate, carbon capture works and all, just not well enough that it should be a priority in climate action.